Hey guys, uh, just doing a quick video here to maybe help some people out. This is how I have been doing harnesses for myself. I actually started doing LS harnesses like probably 10 years ago at this point, and this is exactly how I started doing them. I just figured out what sensors I want to keep, and then I work my way from the sensors back to the PCM and strip out the wires that go along with them sensors. So this is the cam back pressure sensor. I believe this is the glow plug harness for the driver's side or passenger side. And then, oh, this is the turbo actuator. So that's all in one big harness that went toward like the biggest, longest part of the harness. So I'm going to take that out pretty much all together. And I just thought maybe I'd kind of show you guys how I take these wires out. Yeah, got that. So like I'll go up here and I'll locate a wire and I just kind of get it free from the other wires and then pull a little bit. This one I've already cut, but this one went to a ground. You'll have these ground blocks where a bunch of different sensors all ground together. So be careful you don't just pull. Make sure you're watching when you're feeding wires back and forth that there's not a multi-splice in the middle, because if there is and you cut it out, you end up doing this and having to restart, or not restart, but I'm going to have to fix that wire because that was a multi-pack and I didn't notice it and I cut it off, so I had to fix that. So be careful of that, but when you get done you'll end up with a bunch of different wires cut off of here for the grounds. So, but I'll show you a different wire now. So here's another. I'll just kind of pull, it breaks free. Oh, see, you can see here, it's on a multi-pack. That's another ground. I'll use rubber tape, or liquid tape, and dab all these connections up when I'm done. And then probably just throw a few wraps of tape on them and then put them in a sealed harness. No professional, it's just the way I do things. Here's another wire for another example. Nope, this one as well comes back to a multi-pack or a multi-connector. It must be a sensor voltage wire would be my guess. So again, you just pull that back. I want to show them a computer wire, damn it, but I keep pulling multi-pack wires. Try this yellow one here. So some of these are stuck in the harness and you got to kind of pull them apart. Otherwise they won't pull. But then what I'll do is I'll take and I'll pull, and it'll pull these wires tight, and then I can figure out where it goes. So okay, so this one goes to one of the glow plug. Yeah, so this one's not going to be used. So this one goes to one of the glow plug wires. This one right here. Just slip it off because I don't care about taking it all the way back. That one out of there. Let's try another one here. This is probably going to freak some people out watching me do it like this. But I do want to show. Okay, finally I got a computer one. So I just pull it tight, and then I'll go in the middle, and I'll make sure that it's the wire that I have in my hands. And then I'll go back up here to the computer. And I know there's tools, and there's ways, so you got to be careful here because these are stuck together. And I know there's tools and there's ways to de-pin these correctly, but I'm in a hurry and I don't really care about getting the tool, to be honest with you. So I just slide that out and then give it a quick yank and it comes out. So that's how I've been doing all of them. It's been working just fine. So anyways, when you get all done, you'll kind of tie these back up. And just zip ties work great for securing this kind of stuff in sections if you're really freaked out about losing the shape of the harness, but that truly doesn't matter that much in this application because you're gonna reshape the harness to put your sensors where you need to on the Cummins. Maybe just kind of letting you know that's kind of how I've done it. I've never had any trouble. I've always worked great on my LS stuff. I've done a couple Fords now like this, a V10 and a 6.4. Both of them have worked fine, had no problems. So just going to continue doing this. I'd like to give a shout out to Fummins Tech on Facebook. Those guys, they got a really nice site there, and they do a really good job of helping everybody. I've learned a ton of stuff. I probably wouldn't have been able to do half of this stuff without some of the guys there. So I really appreciate the information and the help that they give. I get pretty much all my parts from Mike Fuchs. And then my transmission tuning, I have Randy Gilliam do it. They're both on Cummins Tech. That's where I met them both, and they're both great guys. Sorry if I butchered your last names. But anyways, I guess we'll get started. First of all, one thing is the fan wiring. We'll just start with that. If you're running the Ford viscous fan for a 6.4, you're going to want to leave the fan wiring in the harness. And you know, we can shorten it or extend it, or if you need to, or whatever you need to do there. But you'll want to leave that in there. On this video, it has been removed. You know, it's not a big deal to just leave it in there. Just don't mess with it. Yeah, for a mechanical fan, or if you're using a common rail and using the common rail fan that's controlled by the common rail ECM, then you wouldn't need this either. So is what it is. Start with that. This harness so far I've used on a 12 valve, a 24, and a common rail, and a couple 24 valves actually. So this is the way I've done it for all of them without having any issues. These are your sets of CAN bus wires. There's 2 white with blue stripes, and there's 2 white. They go from this connector here. I went into the turbo actuator. There's 2 wires there, 2 white, a white and a white and blue. As you can see right here, they go into 1 each. You go all the way to the other side of the engine from this plug in here. This is not your ECM plug. It's not that plug. This is the plug down below it. I don't remember the exact number for it right now, but when you take the motor out of the truck, you'll have to unhook it, so you'll know what I'm talking about. These wires run all the way up in here. These CAN bus wires that go to your factory turbo actuator. Those wires need to be hooked back up. So you're not going to obviously hook any turbo actuator back up. It gets deleted, and you can take the wires clear out of the harness as far back as you want. I leave a little bit so I can keep them hidden in the harness, and you'll never know that they're there. But the most important thing is they're come in pairs here. So you got these 2 and these 2, and there's a white and a blue and white, and a white and a blue and white in these 2 pairs. And you got to hook these up, blue and white to blue and white to white. And if you don't do that, or if you hook them up opposite, blue and white to white, it won't work. You won't have a range selector, your dash won't work, starter won't work, key switch won't do much. It's pretty much a no-go for anything to work. So you got to make sure you do that. Another thing here, I cannot remember if you need the cam sensor wiring for the tack helper. I'm pretty sure you don't, but I left it in there. I'm going to remove it at the very end if I don't end up needing it. That's why I left it clear back here. But this is the crank sensor wires. You'll run them to the tack helper, wherever you want to put that. Pretty sure you're supposed to keep it dry and away from heat and stuff. So wherever you want to leave that. These wires are another foot or 2 longer than they are here if you want to leave them extra long. They're in this nice sheath, so they're easy to identify. Both the cam and the crank are the only ones in the sheath like that, and they used to go clear out here, so I just pulled them all the way back by the ECM plug because that's where my tack helper normally ends up. This is the plug that is right around your, I can't remember the dang name for the plug, but this is around your air cleaner box, big plug. It has the glow plug power feed wire and grounds, or at least the powers anyways, coming from that plug factory. I removed them all so they're not in there. One thing that I do when I'm stripping harnesses, whether it be LS or 6.4 or V10, the stripping can be the hardest part of all this. Some of that stuff is so old and brittle and just so sticky. And like this here, I used a pair of scissors and just kind of worked my way down through here. And usually there's tape and stuff. And the wires are kind of twisted around each other. They're real nice and tight. They're not looped up like this factory. So you can just kind of snake a pair of scissors all the way along through there and just kind of snip it along, or take the scissors on the outside and snip the tape from the sides without going through the inner conduit plastic. It's kind of how I do it. Razor blade works too, but you got to be careful, obviously, with a razor blade. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Some of them are not fun. But yeah, so we'll just continue going across the list here. This is your alternator wiring. You can see the factory ones got some fusible links and stuff. Also has the, I assume not the Excite wire, but the battery sense wire, I assume is what that is, hooked into it. You can run that. In this scenario, I'm running Mike's alternator bracket along with his motor mounts and adapter plate, flex plate. So anyways, I'm having the Ford AC and the Ford alternator will be together in the factory Ford location. So they won't really move much at all. So I'm going to be able to reuse all of that without having to do much to it. The AC plug would normally be with this. I got it laying over here just for demonstration purposes. And then this is what your intake air temperature sensors looks like. Just got looks like it's got a purple and a green wire coming out of it. And then this is your map sensor, so it sensors your boost. You can put this up in your intake horn, or you can put it in the, I guess it'd be the intake plate that your heater grid bolts to. You put it in any of that stuff, should be fine. Anywhere it's out of the way for your injector lines and stuff. So, and then also, these are not really laid out exactly how they're going to be on the engine or exactly sized to length yet. I got to wait till I get that stuff installed so I can, lengthen or shorten wires. So I might take some pictures after I do that. This is your fuel temp. I don't know if you really actually need this or not, but if you want to control the Ford transmission, there's some of these sensors that you need. If you're doing a manual, there's quite a few of these that you wouldn't even need. There's a few of them anyways. I don't know about quite a few, but you wouldn't need the mass airflow and a few other ones. But anyways, some people say that you need this. I've used it before. I'm going to use it again this time. It's your fuel temp. I know a lot of guys don't even install it. They'll just plug it in and just zip tie it to the harness. It's not really needed for the transmission or for the engine anymore, but the transmission might have a code problem if you don't use it. This is purple with a white trace. This is your oil pressure sensor. This actually will pretty much thread right into the OEM block is NPT, 1/8 inch NPT for the oil pressure sensor. Hey, just wanted to add this in here. When it comes to adapting these Ford sensors to the Cummins motors, the 12 and 24, and at least the early common rails, I'm not sure. I haven't messed with too many common rails newer than like a 2012. They're all NPT threads in the cylinder head and in the sides and stuff. As far as like the 1/2 inch NPT. So like the ports on the cylinder head, they are 1/2 inch NPT on top. So if you want a quick and easy way to throw a coolant gauge, you just take this here, and this is a metric sensor thread with an ORB fitting. You can just go to your local parts store and get a 1/2 inch pipe plug, and you just literally just drill a hole through the center of it and tap it with a normal, this would be like, I can't remember, this might be an M14 by 1.5 thread. You just go get an M14 by 1.5 thread straight tap for like a bolt or a nut from the parts store, and drill through the center of the pipe plug and tap it. And then you can take a step bit, and if you are careful and go into the top of that pipe plug with a step bit, and it gives a nice little chamfer, and then your O-ring sits in there perfectly. And this will literally just thread right into a 1/2 inch NPT pipe plug, and it'll seal just like it would. And you ain't got to order nothing. You can run right to your local store and get one for a few dollars. And you can do that. You can do that for your like say this one here, your intake air temperature, if you want to put it in your intake horn. This is a straight thread with an O-ring. You can put it right into your intake plate. You just get your tap, drill it, tap it, and you could use a step bit. Put that little tiny chamfer for your O-ring, put that little tiny chamfer for your O-ring, and put it in there. And I've done this, and I've boost leak checked it, and I had no leaks. And it worked fine. I've done it on fuel, I've done it on air, I've done it on oil, and it's worked well every time. But obviously you got to use your head. You can't get too deep with the step, you know, the clean out with the step bit. There can't be a bunch of chatter or stuff like that. It's got to be clean and not sharp, otherwise it's not going to work. So just I'll throw a picture of one that I made here years ago that I found laying on the bench the other day. I'll throw it on there for you guys so you can just kind of see. It's not going to be for everybody, I know that, but helpful tip in case somebody gets stuck and really wants to drive their truck but it needs to wait on a part. And then this is oil temp. It's green, white, and blue with a red tracer. So that's your oil temp. You can, that one there as well, you could probably just zip tie off to the side. I don't even know that you need it, but again, I'm running the Ford transmission, so I'm just trying to keep it happy. Also, just be careful if you'll notice, some of these sensors are identical, both the sensor and the plug. So just be careful you don't get them mixed up. And on that note, I'll put in a few pictures here in the video, but you can kind of see when I do these swaps, I've done one with the cab on, and I've done a few with the cab on, and this is my first one with the cab off. And I normally, either way, I'll go through and I will label every sensor. I'll just look up on Google or something and look up and see what sensors are where. I mean, you go through and individually look up each sensor, find what it is, where it's at, and I'll label it. And I'll go through, and then that way I know exactly what everything is. And then I'll also take the sensors, take them out of the engine, and I'll plug them right back into the sensor plug that they came off of. And that way I know where everything's at. I know what sensors go where, and nothing gets mixed up or changed around or mislabeled and used in the wrong place. So that's kind of how I do that. Here's your coolant temp. I noticed on this one, back here in the wire-aways, the wires were super corroded and the coating was completely gone before I did anything with them. Like as soon as I took the outer coating off, these wires were bare. So you might double check that on yours. Again, this is the coolant temp. It's green with a white trace and a yellow. About 12 inches up from the sensor. I had a pretty good amount of corrosion there that definitely would have caused me all kinds of problems down the road. Here's the AC compressor. Normally this guy would have been over there with the alternator, but I just kind of got it laid out like this for the video. All this stuff's going to get rerouted from where it was factory, so once it's on the engine. But yeah, it's AC compressor, purple with a white trace and a black. This is the AC pressure switch. It's normally right here with the MAF sensor wiring. But yeah, there's a gray, a blue, green stripe, green, blue stripe, and a black and yellow stripe. And there's a black and unused, this black one here was unused on mine, deadheaded with a little rubber cap or plug. Then you got your mass airflow. You will need this if you're running a manual or if you're not using the Ford transmission. I would imagine if you're not using the Ford transmission, you definitely don't need the MAF. You can remove this. You should be able to remove oil temp. You'll be able to remove fuel temp. Like if it was a, yeah, you'd probably want to keep the map sensor so your dash would work. You wouldn't need the intake air temp anymore. So there's several of these that you could get rid of with a manual. But I'll give you guys a good view. And again, guys, this is just stuff I've learned on my own, and through talking to people and researching for years. And I'm not perfect. I'm self-taught on almost everything that I do. Some of the ways I do things, I'm sure people will laugh at or think's ridiculous, but it works for me. So, and I've been doing it for quite a while. But yeah, I hope this helps somebody. I'll try and, put some edits in here with some good pictures of things that I did along the way. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Don't be too hard on me.